Good morning, Thrive Mamas. My name is Rebecca Turner, and I'm coming to you today to talk to you about bulk freezer cooking. I've got my notes up, so I'm going to be looking up at my notes. My laundry's going in the room next door, so you might hear some weird sloshing and chunking and chugging. It's not my kids, it's my washer. Before we get started, I want to say a quick prayer. Mostly because I tend to ramble, and I'm hoping to give all of this information to you in a way that you can receive it and understand it and be encouraged and empowered by it. So here we go. Father, thank you so much for this opportunity for me to share some time saving and kitchen management ideas with my fellow mothers. I thank you for each and every one of these mothers and for all the work and energy and prayer and time they put in to serving their families and bringing up their children in a healthy home. And I thank you for all of their hearts and for how dedicated they are to serving you through motherhood. And I ask that you would continue to build this community and develop these bonds between these women, especially in this very strange and long drawn out pandemic that we find ourselves in. Lord, I ask that you would help me to collect my thoughts and speak in a way that this information can be received and be encouraging and empowering. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. Okay, so what I want to share with you is basically bulk cooking freezer meals. It has been a lifesaver for me, helping me get dinner on the table more quickly and with less stress throughout the week. I first heard about bulk cooking from a fellow mom friend of mine. She had 5 children in a span of 2 years. Yes, she had a child, triplets, and a child. And the only way she could survive meal prep for her family was to do monthly bulk cooking. And so I didn't need it at the time because I was single, but as soon as I got married and my husband and I were both working full time, and I started realizing how tired I was when I got home from work and how I had to make food and it had to be tasty and it needed to be a meal that my husband and I could enjoy, I reached out to her and I said, hey, help. And she said the first place that she ran to was this book called, wrong one, Don't Panic, Dinner's in the Freezer. It's probably in reverse on your screen, but I'll include information about it in some notes that I'm going to post. And it also has a second volume. It's full of all kinds of meals that can be scaled from 1 portion to 3 to 6 to 9 bunches of portions. And so when we started doing this, when my husband and I started doing this right when we got married, I loved it because I could take something out of the freezer the night before, put it in the fridge, and when I came home, boom, everything was prepped. All I had to do was cook it. Or in some cases, it was something that I had cooked ahead of time and frozen. So for those super, super tiring days, and when I didn't want to do anything, I could thaw it in some water or defrost it in the microwave and then warm it up, and we had dinner, and it was usually really tasty. So since then, I have found it to be a lifesaver with my family. My husband and I have been married 6.5 years. He's Travis. He works at Samsung. He's essential. He's not home much, especially during the pandemic. He's had to shift his schedule around and work 12-hour days, 4 days a week, followed by 12-hour days, 3 days a week. So the days that he's not getting home until my kids are in bed, the days are very, very long. And so having these freezer meals has really helped us there. I have a 4-year-old little girl and a 2-year-old little girl. And as you know, at those ages, the later in the day it gets, the more challenging they can become and the more their difficult quirks come out. And I was finding when I was trying to cook anything from scratch, my 2-year-old always wanted to be held right when I'm in the middle of cooking something hot on the skillet or transferring a boiling pot of pasta over to the strainer in the sink or something. And so I just needed that time to be shorter. And so my husband and I returned. We had stopped for a while when I had an infant that I was nursing because I couldn't balance it all. But we returned to bulk cooking, and it has been absolutely wonderful. For my family, bulk cooking involves a 2-day prep session of about 25 meals. And sometimes I'll do sides and treats if it's easy and it's not going to add a whole lot to that prep session. And those days are about 8 hours each. I can't do a 12-hour day. My friend can. That's not me. And so I've adapted it to work for my family. And having those 25 meals, because like I said, it's me and my husband and then a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, they don't eat as much. So 25 meals will usually feed my family for 3 months, dinners for 3 months. And that allows me 1 meal a week to try a new recipe so that I'm not making the same 25 meals every single time I bulk cook. And it allows us to get takeout once a week. So it's been wonderful because we have saved a lot of money. We don't eat out as often. We don't resort to DoorDash or takeout as often because when I'm tired, I've just got something that I can make very quickly and it doesn't require a lot of energy. So we've spent a lot less money on eating out. And the beauty of bulk cooking is you can, when you buy your groceries, you can buy things with some similar ingredients so you reduce the waste. I hate digging into my refrigerator and opening up my crisper drawer and there's like half a rotten something in the back that I forgot I had and then it goes to waste. With the bulk cooking, because everything's being divided up and used, there's very little of that. And what does end up being left, I have learned how to freeze and save for other things, which has been wonderful. Now I have a deep freezer. So bulk cooking 25 meals, I have tons of space for that. And not everybody has the same amount of space. But this can be scaled to whatever space you have. You can find a way to rearrange your time so that you're doing a lot of prep on one afternoon or a day or 2 days or whatever it is that's going to work for you, so that you're building all of that prep time into one big lump once a month, once every 2-3 months, whenever you decide to do it. And then when you are, in the trying time of getting dinner on the table and the kids are hungry and the dog's barking or somebody needs a diaper changed or whatever's going on, it's a little less stressful because you have less to do in that moment. So it can sound overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to make 25 meals that last 3 months? But how do you even figure that out? And that's what I'm here to share with you, is how I've adapted it for my family and how you can too. Now for me, it is a work in progress. Every time I do it, I learn something new. I make notes, I change the way I do it next time, and it becomes more efficient. There will be things that you're probably going to think while I'm talking to you, like, why do you do it like that? That's so hard. And that's great. Share how it can be better. Share in the comments under this video or in another thread on this event page what you think could make it more efficient. I would love to hear your tips. I'm always looking to do it more quickly and be less exhausted when I'm done, because it is a difficult 2 days for me. So let me talk to you first about planning. Now, some of you are like, oh, I'm a planner. I got the planning part in the bag. This is going to be a cinch. And some of you are like, I am totally fly by the seat of my pants, wing it, last minute. That's okay. We're going to talk about how to work those strengths together with other moms so that you don't have to do every single part of this by yourself if you don't want to. Even in a pandemic, there's a way to do it in separate kitchens and still do it together, I think. So the first thing, though, that you're going to want to do is assess your freezer space, because that's going to determine how many meals you prep, whether you're going to prep full meals or just entrees, and how big your grocery list is going to need to be, and how frequently you're going to want to do this. If you have a deep freezer like I do, maybe you're going to say, okay, I'm just going to dive in once every 2 or 3 months, knock it out in a weekend, get it off my to-do list, and not worry about it. Others might have a chest freezer that's a little bit smaller than a deep freezer, so you might want to do it monthly. Some of you may have the freezer that's attached to your refrigerator and you're thinking, there's no way, I can't fit 25 meals in there. I can do 5, maybe 8, maybe 10. And that's great too, because whatever you can do, it's going to help you out during the week when when you're in that difficult period of time of just being already tired. The kids are already tired. Your spouse is already tired. Your dogs are crazy. You've run errands all day and you got to get it done. It's going to help you. You're going to love it. I promise. So once you know what your freezer size is, then you can think, okay, what do I really need? Maybe you don't need to have full meals, full frozen casseroles in the freezer. Maybe you have children older than me who can help you. And so the prep work of fixing sides during the week isn't as daunting of a task for you as it is for me. So then maybe all you want to do is prepare some entrees. Maybe all you want to do is pull out your slow cooker and make 3 pounds of Chipotle shredded chicken that can be made into tacos or enchiladas or whatever, quesadillas, put it on nachos, whatever you want, because your kids are old enough to use a knife and they can cut up tomatoes and onions and shred lettuce and grate cheese or whatever. And that's great. If that's all you need, then that's all you need to worry about. You don't need to think about making anything else. Or, maybe you can just, if you have a favorite marinade for chicken breasts that you cook in the oven or grill or whatever, maybe you can just prep your freezer bags with the marinade ingredients and your chicken breasts and stick them in the freezer and you're good. Because now when you go to cook during the week, you don't have to mess with chicken juice cleanup, and that saves some time. And then if you have like a chest freezer that's in between a refrigerator freezer and a a deep freezer like I have, maybe you're gonna do, okay, we'll do some soups and we'll do some entrees, but I really don't want to like try to dig out a tray of a frozen casserole from a chest freezer. That's just awkward. I don't want to have to dig around for that. And that's fine too. Customize it to what you have. Figure out what you absolutely need and start from there. The big tip for when you go to plan your menu, which is the next step, is to keep it simple. It's really not fun to have 4 different proteins that you're prepping. I do beef one day and I do chicken the next day. And that works really well for my family because all I have to do on beef day is I usually do ground beef and I usually do chuck roast, and I chop all my vegetables and then I weigh out or measure out whatever meat that I'm using, and then I build my packets and stick them in the freezer and I clean up and I'm done for that day. And then the next day it's chicken day where I'm super duper extra careful because ew, chicken. I don't know why I think it's grosser than beef, but I do. And then it's the same thing for chicken, and I just kind of focus on, okay, what am I focusing on today? What do I need? Do I need chicken tenders? Do I need chicken chunks? Do I need butterfly chicken breast? Do I need thighs? What's going to work here? What kind of things do I need to parcel out? That is easier for me. And it also simplifies my grocery list because I'm not buying 4 different proteins and all of the different seasonings that go better with multiple proteins or whatever. Another way that you can keep it simple is to say, okay, well, I'm only doing casseroles, so I'm going to have all of these canned soups, all of this rotisserie chicken, whatever it is. So there's different ways to make it simple. You need to figure out what's going to work for you, because if it doesn't work for you, you're not going to want to do it. That's just how it is. Yes, and I do boneless chicken. I don't do a lot of bone-in chicken. My family is not super crazy about it. We do it on the grill, and so I'll just have it in the freezer on hand for like if we're going to do some barbecue chicken. And that'll be something that we do on the weekend when my husband is home. He's had some rest and he can help me tag team with the children. That's what works for us. Okay, so now you know how much space you have, you know what you need, and you have an idea of what your protein choices are going to be. Now it's time to plan your menu. The first most important thing is to pick recipes that your family already loves. Do not bulk freezer cook recipes you have not tried yet. We have done that. It did not work well because then we had food we had paid for, food I had half prepped and half cooked in the freezer that we felt like we had to eat, and we didn't like it. And that was a bummer. So start with your family's favorites. And plan for, like I said earlier, plan for shared ingredients. You can do a pot roast with carrots, and you can do a chicken pot pie with carrots. And so then you can buy 1 bag of carrots, chop them or slice them all at once, measure them out when you're making your kits or cooking or whatever it is you're going to do, and you aren't wasting carrots. Now, I know it's hard to waste carrots. You can always turn them into carrot sticks for snacks, but some things, they just end up going to waste. And there's a lot of this that kind of ties into the next step, which is shopping, planning your grocery list and shopping. I tend to shop in bulk because I'm doing a lot of meals, and I will also bulk buy staple vegetables like carrots, celery, and onions. But I've tried in the past to leave my leftover onions out to use during the week if I need an onion for a new recipe that I'm going to try. And I find that bulk onions don't last very long. So then I thought, well, I don't really want to buy bulk onions, but they're half the price as the grocery store onions. So then I did a little research and found out, yes, you can freeze onions. And so that's what I do. I freeze my celery, I freeze my carrots, I freeze my onions, I freeze leftover mushrooms, leftover bell peppers. I have frozen some broccoli that I have left over, although the prep for freezing broccoli is something I don't really enjoy dealing with. So now if I'm going to use broccoli in a casserole, I just buy frozen. But you can do what you want. There's all kinds of information on the internet about how to go about freezing just about everything that can be frozen. Not everything can be frozen, but more things can be frozen than you think. I've even frozen potatoes. So you can do it. When you're getting ready to shop, though, decide, are you going to bulk shop? If you're only going to make 5 entrees, maybe you don't need to. And if you're going to use a lot of vegetables, maybe you're going to go to multiple stores. Maybe you like to get your meat from one store and your vegetables from a place that has more organic choices like Sprouts. Look at sales, look at coupons. If you're super savvy about calling butchers and finding out when they do markdowns, that can be the day that you go and shop. My friend who does this gets whole chickens from her local Walmart at 67 cents a pound because she knows exactly when they mark them down and she's there ready to get them. So that's another way that you can use this to your advantage to kind of lower that ever-growing grocery bill that we are all not super happy about. And so now that you've done your grocery list and your shopping, it's time to do the work, the actual work of making the meals. Like I said earlier, I do chicken one day and beef the next. My friend likes to chop all of her vegetables, measure all of her herbs, chop all of her fresh herbs, anything like that. Do any pre-cooking if there's going to be rice that needs to be pre-cooked or noodles that need to be partially pre-cooked. She likes to do all that on day 1. And then on day 2, she does all of the meat and packs it all. Now, her mother helps her because she does enough for her family and for her parents. So if you're not going to have someone actually physically in your kitchen to help you, that might not work so well. But pull out everything you've got. The first morning that I'm getting ready to do this, I go in my kitchen, I clear my counters. I have a station for my crock pot next to my Instant Pot, and I start recipes in those right in the first thing in the morning. And then I have another station in my kitchen where I have all my spices. I have another station in my kitchen right next to the sink where I have my cutting board for raw meat and my knives for raw meat, and that doesn't leave that spot. And then on the back side, I have a galley kitchen. So on the back side of my kitchen, I have all my produce, and I have my bags and my magic marker for labeling my bags and all of that. And so it helps me to have those stations because I can move from one place to the next and everything that I need is right in front of me. And then at the end of the day, when my crock pot recipes are done, I can take it out and let it cool. My Instant Pot, I can usually do 3 or 4 recipes in a day while I'm doing the other stuff and then allowing for cooling and packing time. So That's one way to make it a little more efficient the days that you're working. Now, I think it's very important to have help and to work together if there's any possible way that you can. The way that my husband and I work together is he handles the kids pretty much exclusively unless somebody smashes their finger in a cabinet door and they just need mommy. Pretty much I don't have them in my kitchen. I don't have them anywhere near me, and I'm just left to do the work, and that is super, super helpful for me because I need to be able to move around my kitchen without my little toddler getting right behind my back leg where I step on her, which happens a lot. Some of you might say, well, I'm really great at planning, but I can't deal with that much bulk cooking at once. Okay, so find a mom in our wonderful group who's the opposite, who's like, give me the hands-on stuff, but please don't make me try to figure all of this out. So you do the planning, call her up, find out favorite recipes. You make the plan, you make the grocery list, maybe you even do the shopping, drop it all off at her house, let her do the stuff, and then you come back and you pick up the meals. Maybe you're good at both, but you're like, I can't really do 2 days. Okay, so find another mom in the same situation. One of you do all the beef meals, one of you do all the chicken meals. Do a swap. Super easy. As long as you're comfortable with everybody's COVID practices, it shouldn't be that hard to get some help. And if you're super comfortable, have that other mom over, ship your kids off with her kids and the 2 dads or whoever, put on some good music, maybe have your favorite beverage, and get to work and have some good fellowship time while you're working and laboring to provide delicious meals for your family. Finally, when it's all said and done and you've got leftovers, freeze it if you have the space, because it's going to cost you less money later when you can use it again. You can freeze milk. You can freeze coconut milk. You can freeze tomato paste, pesto sauce, shredded cheese, carrots, onions, celery, mushrooms, bell peppers, potatoes, and more things that can be used later for casseroles or soups, new recipes that you want to try. As long as your frozen vegetables aren't something that you're thinking that you're going to be able to thaw and eat fresh, it shouldn't be a problem. Now, tomatoes themselves will disintegrate, so you don't want to freeze tomatoes, but you can puree them and freeze the puree to use in some other kind of sauce or soup or whatever. It's never really a good idea to freeze cream or cream cheese, and certainly not avocado. Those things, the texture just absolutely will not hold up. So what I do when I make my big batch of tomato soup, I leave the cream out, and when I measure out the soup into my individual freezer bags or my freezer containers, whichever one I'm using, I will write on it how much cream needs to be added when I warm it up. So then I know, okay, I've got my tomato soup. We're going to do grilled cheese and tomato soup. I need to add 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream to this when I warm it. Then I just put it in and it tastes like I just made it, and it's not a problem. Same with cream cheese. You keto folks out there, you can do cream cheese recipes bulk cooked. Just leave the cream cheese out and add it when it's time to cook it. It's not going to be a big deal, and it'll taste just as good as it would have if you had made the entire recipe right off the bat. One of the best ways to freeze vegetables or meatballs, if you're making your grandma's favorite meatball recipe, or if you're making falafel, which I make a lot, is freeze it all on a cookie sheet and then you bag it up. So then you can take out just the amount you need. When I do onions, I do sliced and I do chopped, and I lay them on my baking sheet and I put them in my freezer for about an hour, and then I take them out and I do 1 cup bags, 1 cup sliced, 1 cup chopped, 1 cup sliced, 1 cup chopped. And that way, when I'm doing my new recipes that I want to try and it calls for a cup of chopped onions, I have it already chopped, it's frozen, it'll thaw as soon as I throw it in the skillet or whatever, and it tastes fine. Some vegetables will require a process called blanching. Just look it up. It's all over Google. I feel like I'm talking too long, so I'm going to try to start wrapping it up here. But blanching simply is putting your vegetables in boiling water for a short period of time and then in ice water for a short period of time before freezing it. Some vegetables need that in order to freeze properly. You can just look that up. It's not really a big deal. Most of this kind of after cleanup freezing is something that I'll do throughout the week following my bulk cooking. Like, my onions are going to last a couple of days. I can do that on a Tuesday when the girls are napping, or I can put them out in the backyard where I can watch them, and I can just chop it up, stick it in the freezer, and come back later that evening and bag it up. It doesn't have to be part of that extra bulk cooking day. Chicken carcasses, if you're roasting whole chickens to use in your recipes, you can freeze the carcasses if you have space, or you can just go ahead and stick them in your Instant Pot or your crock pot or on your stove with some of your carrot, celery, and onion and spices, and go ahead and make some stock and freeze it up. Then you don't have to spend money on stock the next time you need to make an emergency batch of chicken noodle soup because somebody's dealing with cedar fever. That's another way, that's another place that you can use your onions, carrots, and celery that are in your freezer. Just throw them in the soup. Throw your leftover rotisserie chicken that you've picked and stuffed in a bag because you didn't know what to do with it. Throw it in the soup, throw in your stock, throw in your noodles, put it on the stove, crock pot, Instant Pot, whatever, boom. You got some delicious chicken noodle soup in a fraction of the time it would take to make it completely from scratch. So that's awesome too. For labeling, there's a lot of different ways that you can choose to label. If it's something super simple, like a whole casserole that I'm just literally going to stick in the oven, I will write the instructions on, I'll wrap the casserole in, I usually do it in foil pans so that they can be frozen and then tossed later. And I'll wrap it in plastic wrap, and then I'll wrap it in aluminum foil for freezing. And so on that foil layer, I'll write what the casserole is, what the temp is, and how long I need to cook it. So then I just take it out, unwrap it, boom, done. For other things that require a little bit of stovetop time, I prefer to write the name of the recipe on the bag, and then I have made my own cookbook specifically for these recipes. So for example, let me find a good one here. So this is for lemon sage chicken. And so what I've done is I've taken my recipe with all the ingredients. I've put freezing instructions. So this is how I divide up my recipe into different bags. And usually what I'll do to do that is I'll go by step. So if there's a step where you add 3 ingredients, those 3 ingredients just go in a bag together, unless it's eggs, cream, or something simple that I can add at the last minute, like sugar or whatever. I'll leave that out, and I'll note on here that that's what I'm going to need to have on hand when I do my weekly grocery shopping. So I'll do freezing instructions and then cooking instructions. This is if I actually want to make the recipe from scratch sometime. And then at the bottom, I have the ingredients that you need to add. So for this one, I need eggs and dry white wine. I'm not going to freeze those ingredients. So the week that I choose to make this meal, I'm going to add this to my grocery list and get that fresh from the grocery store. So that's how I choose to do it. I know some people will print all of the instructions on a label and stick the label on the bag. That's great. I can't stand making those labels, so I don't do it that way. So you'll have to do a little brainstorming, maybe look on Pinterest for some ideas and find a way that's going to work best for you. There was something else, and now I'm not sure what it was that I was going to say. It's not in my notes. It was a thought that I just had. Okay. So I hope that gives you a starting point. Like I said, it is a work in progress. I've been doing this off and on for several years, and I improve every time. What I'm currently working on is finding a Google Docs, like a Google Sheets, because I don't have Microsoft Office Suite. I'm looking for a Google Sheets magic thing where I can put in all my recipes and then decide my number of servings, and then it spits out a grocery list. I don't have that done yet. I do all of that by hand, and it takes up kind of a lot of time. So if you have something like that, or you know of something like that, or maybe you have mad Google Sheets skills from your job or from a job you used to work at, maybe you can help me with that. But if not, I'm working on it, and when I find it, I will post it and share it with all of you. I'm also going to share my outline from this because I feel like you're going to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose otherwise. And I have some freezing notes, some pictures I took from the last time I did this session in December when I cooked for my family, pictures of what my freezer looks like with all the stuff in it. It's awesome. And also, I have a list that I keep on my fridge with all the inventory of meals that I have in the freezer. So when I say, hey, try this, let's figure out what we're going to eat this week, he comes over and he says, I want that. And I say, I want that. And I want that. Boom, done. Got our meals. I can go to my little recipe book that I just showed you, find out what ingredients I need. And it's awesome because I don't have to sit there and think and look through a recipe and write down all the ingredients and check my pantry. Do I have this? Do I have that? Because it's all already together. So feel free, if you decide you're going to dive into this, feel free to ask me any questions, ask for suggestions. I'm happy to brainstorm. I am not perfect at this. If you decide you don't want to do it, you're still a great mom. Don't worry about it. This is just something that I do that really helps me throughout the week. And I was hoping that maybe there would be some other people who would benefit from learning how to do this. Blessings to you all. And feel free to contact me, ask me anything whenever I am available. I am happy to help. Just let me know. You guys enjoy the rest of your day today. Enjoy the rest of your week and your discussion time with the Thrive group. And happy eating.